on our way over to Huntington Valley, just a short drive from our offices, to meet with my good friend Tony. Really excited to share his story about an installation we did 20 years ago and how Tony bought this house for his family. He bought a nice little rancher in a beautiful neighborhood with the intention of expanding and popping the top and putting a second floor on. And where we come in is we did the HVAC. We did both the air conditioning and the heating. We installed a single high velocity system with 3 zones. Now, back then it was very controversial. A lot of people were a little skeptical about this, and Tony thought it'd be perfect for his new house. So we installed this system using a 10 SEER, 3-ton outdoor condenser and high velocity air handler when the load on the house was clearly over 6 tons and would normally dictate at least 2 outdoor units and possibly 3. But we went with this system, and Tony was more than willing to take the risk, and if it didn't work, no loss. We could always install the second outdoor unit and possibly even the third. And we knew that going in, and we set the ductwork up to make that transition easy. And with that in mind, we spent years and years of me being nervous and keep checking with him and his wife Carolyn, asking them, hey, how's it going? How are your bills? Do you notice any temperature difference? And they would constantly just blow it off like, no, everything's great. Our bills are great. Never noticed any temperature difference. And 20 years on, and the systems are still running strong and doing great. And Tony's had the benefit of comfort and only having to maintain one system. And now if he had to replace it, he's only got to replace 1 outdoor unit and 1 air handler. It's a win, 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 win. 19 years later, it still baffles me that 10 SEER Lennox 3-ton unit is still working. You know, I still remember your phrase, or paraphrasing, was like, hey, what do I got to lose? If it works, it works. If a year from now I got to change it out, I'll change it out.
There was 3 things about the whole thing that I loved, right? 1, we talked about the high velocity, right? Which nobody else had ever done, and you know me. I like being out of the box, that number 1. Number 2 was savings. Who doesn't like to save money, right? So we're saving 30, 40 grand, not doing it twice. And then ongoing savings as well. I mean, I don't know, 19 years later, besides you guys coming out every year for maintenance, we haven't done anything to it. And then save the money on the cost of whatever 2 units and maintenance and upkeep and those running all the time and everything else. So save money, number 2. And then number 3 was the risk. There was no risk. The risk is we'd put another unit in. Okay, no big deal. We'd be exactly where we were before. And we wouldn't have had to open up walls or nothing like that. You'd throw another unit outside next to that one, you'd redo the zoning, and boom, we would have been done. No sweat. Easy peasy, win, win, win.
I just always would ask, you sure it's okay?
I know,
You notice any temperature? Like, you sure? There's no temperature? You don't notice a gap in the settings?
I remember you asked for the first 10 years. You stopped asking, thank God.
And I still drive by and see that little condenser sitting there with that big house. You know, normally you'd see 2 big units or 3.
Or 3, yeah. I mean, you get on the shores, you get on the shore where it's hot, right? You got people with 2, 3 units. It's like, and I got that one little thing. I'm like, oh man, I don't know. Because I see the same thing, and I'm like, And now here's the other good news: is you know, we just sold, right? So we're under contract right now. So you know, we only waited 20 years to do this video. But anyway, it didn't affect the resale value at all. No conversation. Somebody asked, what are those little holes in the HVAC? But short of that, that was it.
For the new buyers, they only have to replace 1 outdoor unit and 1 indoor unit instead of 2 or 3.
That's exactly proven it works.
And we haven't even talked about the staple up radiant. You know, that was another thing we were doing a lot back then and talking about. And you chose to do that yourself. What was that like? That was a bitch, wasn't it?
That was a bitch. That was a bitch.
There's nothing good or fun about doing staple up radiant other than the results, like having the warm floors.
Yeah.
And how about the family room? Is this?
This is where the radiant is, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So it runs right off the boiler, right over there. It's got its own thermostat. This room, from a temperature-wise, right, it used to be the garage, right? So it had the cement slab underneath of it. Broke that all up and then put it down, and it gets extremely. I mean, you only have to turn that thing up a little bit, and you know.
And then you got also the cast iron boiler with indirect tank, so you for the hot water.
And the hot water's been outstanding.
So the interesting thing, like, you know, you look at it, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, and you don't never want to make a mistake with a family or a friend on technology. And that boiler, it's like a tank. Not much can go wrong with it. It's very simple. It's not crazy efficient, but the setup is what made it efficient. And at the time, the fad was condensing boilers, especially if you're going radiant multiple zone. And I remember like, oh man, I just don't want to go there. And they were all the rage. And I'm glad we didn't, because the first generation of those boilers, most of them, they cost twice as much. They cost twice as much. And 10 years later, we were replacing them.
Right. Yeah, you can tell it's a tank. It's a tank down there. It's just. I remember when you guys brought it in, it was a tank.
Yeah. Is there anything that you wish you would have done differently?
HVAC wise?
Yeah.
No, I mean, we didn't have any issues. I love the radiant heat. I think that was a great idea for us. That was the only place that we could have done it. I guess we could have done it all over. I wasn't ready for that game for that. We had all the walls opened, and I really like the idea that with the high velocity stuff that you were talking about really resonated with me. Could understand kind of engineering wise or science wise why that makes a lot of sense, right? And honestly, it keeps things a lot less dusty and a lot less dirty and all that, and all the airflow. So I love that idea. I love the radiant heat because I grew up with radiant heat. I remember like laying on those concrete floors. Academy Gardens was really cool. So I got to bring that in as well, right? So we're pouring a new pad here anyway, so we put it in. That's been fantastic. I like it better, certainly better than the floor deals. Too hot, really. It really dries everything out. Not a fan at all. So I've had that before. The only thing that maybe I talked to you about that I would have done differently after I've been over in Europe was I do enjoy those hot towel heaters.
Yeah.